example of Shanti Kente because I thought it was kind of boring looking, so oops. This is how they weave it. It's very traditional art. It's only done by men. We have a volunteer who works with them. It's kind of cool. Like the business volunteers had some of the better jobs. They got to work with the weavers, they got to work with the potters, they got to do all kinds of cool art stuff, and we just sort of sat in our rooms and read books, but it's alright. So I did some stamping, more Dinker symbols again. Beads are very big. I have some examples of that as well. My region is big on bauxite beads. They're mined in the mountains, and they're actually really cool. I don't think I brought any. Brass. So Ghana's on the coast. It used to be called the Gold Coast, that area. So they used to actually make all this out of gold. Some of the museums still have them out of gold, but it's all mostly brass now, so I have some examples of that. Bamboo bicycles, pretty cool. Basket weaving. Pottery. They don't use any kind of machines, they just use their hands, which was really neat. Just sort of mold it. And then xylophone making was in the Upper West. I visited up there and decided I had to have one, so I did. So my job description, you probably don't know what agroforestry and livelihood development means at all, and neither did I until I got there. Basically, Peace Corps in general, you kind of get your placement, you go there, and you figure it out on your own. They give you training, they give you like a lot of good information. You go see firsthand, you do very firsthand activities. Like the first 3 months I was there, I went to farm. I did all kinds of stuff. Like we had our cutlasses. I was gonna bring the cutlass, but I figured it was a bad idea. It's a giant sword. So like we do a lot of things, but you don't really know what you're doing until you get to your town. Because once you get there, you realize like, what does my community need? You talk to people, you think about it, and then you see what you can offer them. So cocoa is a huge part of the South. That's where I was. Cocoa is your chocolate. So cocoa farmers are big, and unfortunately, cocoa harvests don't happen that often. So the livelihood facilitator part is basically offering them an opportunity to make money on the side, doing some kind of project that they can do that's easy, and that maybe they can do it in groups or they can do it individually. So we learned lots of different, we call them ALPs, alternative livelihood projects. So we actually got a lot of training on them. So like beekeeping is a big one. It's not that common around Ghana, but I think it's starting to pick up a little bit more. Like they can do honey production. This is your typical farmer. He's like 90 years old, I think. And his cutlass. Another thing we do besides ALPs, I can name other ALPs, but I didn't really do any because the interest wasn't there. I was going to do animal rearing, which is actually a big thing, but I got the bunnies and then no one wanted to do it, so I just kind of gave up. The agroforestry part, we focus a lot on bush burning. People there, instead of just weeding, because they don't have heavy machinery, they don't have anything, they just burn it. And unfortunately, it ruins the land. Looks like that when it's done. Soil's destroyed, and if they don't watch it, it can really spread. And it's just really sad. So I just want to show you, you can leave it up. So my town was called Anamasi, and it was a pretty big town. We had over 6,000 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I knew friends that lived in towns of 20. So I was all by myself. Pretty secluded, but I did have a paved road, which was kind of nice. I did have electricity. I lived in this little room over here. It was kind of like a closet of a house with, I think, 4 other families. I felt pretty integrated into the community. It took a while. I mean, you are there for 2 years, so the first year is really hard. The second year is a lot better because you feel like you know the people there, you know what you're doing there. You feel some sense of accomplishment. At least I did. Every volunteer's story is different, even in Ghana, depending on where you are, depending on what you're doing. So this is just my story. That's where I bought my stuff, my food. Not much available in town. I usually went out of town, took like a 30-minute little bus ride and got what I needed. This is breakfast, some rice and beans, yum. Little store in my town if you need matches or general stuff. This is what people do in their spare time, play some checkers and hang out. One of my friends, she sold fish. I usually went to go sit with her every day. Pastime. Goats were pretty entertaining. I watched goats a lot. This is actually really nice. I just want to point this out. If you look at this picture really carefully, this vegetables look awesome, and I'm so happy that I lived in the South because I actually could eat and get access to like green peppers, carrots, potatoes, like all this stuff. People in the North, I knew friends, they lived basically off of maybe an onion and, if they were lucky, a tomato. And that's all the vegetables they got for 2 years. Like, it's a little unfortunate, but it's how it happens. I know. There's more people on my market. These are my bunnies. Unfortunately, the project didn't pick up. My main project was supposed to be doing AOPs. Didn't really happen, but I did get 2 cute bunnies, so it's okay. Here's one of my cute little friends. My life in town was mostly with children. I did a lot with kids. I did a lot with the schools. I'll get into that in just a second. This was like my family. I ate with them every night, hung out, had a good time. People there are very nice. It's so easy to get along with them. They're just so outgoing. They love white people. They just love the fact that we were there in their country and wanting to speak their language and do things with them and eat their food. They just could not get enough of it. So my projects, that kind of cut off. Moringa is a very big, important tree now, and when we got there, they were telling us that moringa was going to be like pretty much our only project, which it was, except that it was kind of hard to get. It's kind of hard to get farmers to stop farming and do something else because they just don't. They're lazy. They just didn't want to do extra work. So I did do a lot with moringa. It's a very high in protein tree. You can eat pretty much every part of it or feed the rest to your animals. I have pictures of it, but I'll wait. So we had a lot in my town. I tried to introduce it to people. I did a lot of it with kids. Sorry. And then I did soap making with moringa. So this is actually moringa soap. You can kind of smell it. It's really good for your skin, actually. So we tried to do soap trainings, which didn't also pick up because people didn't have time, and it's really expensive to make soap, unfortunately. I worked with the schools, like I said. I had an environment club with the kids. We did lots of different activities. We did eco jewelry. I have some with me. I'm wearing some. We did the paper beads. We did trash pickup. We did all kinds of fun stuff. Sometimes we just played games and sang songs. They didn't care. I did a reading club because I realized that in the junior high schools, the kids that are coming into that from like the primary schools, these kids are maybe 12 or 13 years old. They couldn't read English at all. And Ghana is an English-speaking country, supposedly. Like, that is their language. Their national language is English. And they come into junior high school and they cannot speak English at all. And once you get to junior high school, there's no turning back. The books are in English, the teachers speak in English, and the kids just sit there. So I did a reading club. I had donations sent from a couple different organizations, so we made a little library. The kids really liked it. They liked reading. It was really hard though. American books don't really translate. Like, I don't know, some of those kids' books just didn't work for them. But it was good to see them reading and to actually like to read. I did a Take Your Daughter to Work day. I brought some girls into the main city, and it was with a couple other volunteers. A lot of projects you'd like tag team, and if you're nearby other volunteers, you can do stuff with them. So that was cool. We all went into the city. We went to this video production company that was run by women, so that was really cool, and the girls really liked it. I did an HIV/AIDS radio show. I actually did a lot with HIV/AIDS, even though Ghana isn't like code red or anything. It's not overwhelmingly prevalent, especially sort of where I was, but there are definitely more people who have the virus rather than people like who are going to get it because they have so much education about it. But then you have all these people left on the side who have it. So the people living with AIDS are the people I focus on. And I did a lot with moringa with them because if you have AIDS, you really need to have a good diet. So we did workshops with them. We brought the trees. We taught them how to use them. We taught them how to cook it, eat it, grow it. So that was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed doing that. Peace Corps has little programs that we do. So I was a facilitator for our Gender Youth Development Committee. So we had like regional representatives all over the country. So I was one of them, and I did different things with that. That's where Take Your Daughter to Work Day came from. And the biggest thing I did was a regional camp for girls. It's called Camp Glow, Girls Leading Our World. And they have them all over Peace Corps, actually. They're really popular. But it was just probably the best thing I did. I did organize it all by myself, but I had about 5 other volunteers. We had over 40 people there. It was a week-long camp. made people come speak to them about HIV/AIDS. We did all kinds of environment stuff. It was just a really good program, and I feel like the girls got a lot out of it. So that was probably my most successful project. And I just have some photos of my kids at school. We did pen pal letters. These are my pen pal kids. We wrote letters to one of my friends who's a teacher in North Carolina. So her students wrote back and forth, so that was kind of fun for them. We made beads. I have some of them in a box, I think. Paper beads, yeah. And we did an environment day. So we made a poster, we paraded through town. They really like doing parades and marching and stuff, so I figured it worked for everybody. We picked up trash. We made trash bins for the town. In Ghana, purified water that you can drink is in plastic bags that kind of look, they're like about this big. So if you imagine every single person in Ghana drinking out of that every day, they just throw them on the ground, they're everywhere. It's pretty disgusting. This is moringa. This is baby moringa. So we filled up a whole truck of it, brought it to the people living with AIDS. It's a pretty good project. Moringa soap making. Oh, I also did world maps. Ghana, or not Ghana, but Peace Corps has books you can use to paint world maps at schools. These schools have nothing. Like, some of them don't even have doors, they don't have windows, they don't have anything, but they don't even have maps. So it was really cool to do this, especially I did it right during World Cup time. So I have like even adults walking by going, oh, I know that team, or things like that. Like, they really enjoyed seeing this map of the world on their school. I taught lessons with the kids on how to read a map and just little things about, you know, Ghana and then the countries around Ghana. So these are all the kids at the school. I also did a Ghana map, which was really cool because they don't even know much outside of where they live. So that's Ghana. I was down